Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I hope y'all doing okay today. I'm sorry about being late, guys. Let me see who is in here. Let's see. I see Natural Born Queen, Deborah, Little Miss Muffin, Dima, and Monica in here, and Yolanda, and Chocolate City. How y'all doing, y'all? We got a guest tonight. Tonight we're gonna talk about Tonight we are going to talk about Rogers Lacaze. Hold on one second. I'm trying to get them in here. Hold on, you guys. Um, and I don't know how familiar you all are with the Rogers Lacaze case, but it was definitely a national case. Hold on, y'all. And you saw just about every media talking about it. Just about every media you saw talking about that case back in the 90s. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to get our guests up here. Hold on. Okay. Hey, Letitia. Hold on, you guys. I'm trying to get the guests on here. Let me see. This is gonna be a good show. Hold on. Okay, let me see. I'm almost finished. I'm trying to get our guest up here. Okay. Okay. So yeah, guys, it was actually a national case, and it involved a police officer, um, a 16-year-old young man. He might have been 17, and a lot of other police officers. It happened in New Orleans. There was a lot of corruption at the time that was going on. That was around the time that New Orleans Police Department was really, really corrupt. They were setting people up. There was even some murders that had taken place. And that is around the time that this situation happened. And I'm trying to get you all some video with Rogers Lacaze. And I'm going to tell you something. I actually, because I had seen so many stories of this case, like on A&E, on all of these different channels, I actually thought that he was guilty, right? And until one day, someone it's this lady name is Sheila. Hold on one second. This lady name is Sheila had actually did a painting on him, and I got the opportunity to actually um, I got the opportunity to actually look into some things myself to see that there was a lot of corruption that went on. Now, Antoinette Franks was a police officer. She was actually a female black police officer that had worked for the New Orleans Police Department. Antoinette Franks was never supposed to be on the police department. At the time, Antoinette was about 27 years old, and um, she had kept applying for the New Orleans Police Department, but they kept rejecting her application. She could never pass the psychological exam, right? She could never pass the psychological exam. So she actually ended up doing something that has not even been heard of, had never been heard of before, hadn't been heard of again. She went to her own psychiatrist on her own and paid for it and got them to give her to pass her and took the results to New Orleans Police Department. Okay. And they ended up hiring her on. Now she could not pass the psychological exam with their psychiatrist, so they let her go get her own psychiatrist that she paid and passed her, and they accepted that and let her on the force. Okay, so during that time on the force, Antoinette, there was a lot of disciplinary action. Now they didn't understand how disturbed Antoinette Franks was. Okay. Hold on, you guys. I'm trying to get our guests on. They didn't understand how disturbed she was. And like I said, that was during that time that New Orleans Police Department was extremely corrupt. Okay. Hold on, you guys. Okay, you guys. And so, because this story, I feel like, had always really been one sided, nobody ever saw the interview with Roger Lacaze. Like, I was the only person or ever did an interview with Roger Lacaze. I was the only person some years back to actually do an interview, to get an interview with him and actually hear his side of the story. Okay. And in my research, even back then, to me, I was just kind of floored with everything that had gone on with the New Orleans Police Department, all of the cover up, that had gone on, even with the judge that was in this case, you know, the things that they had covered up. Like, there are some things that had happened as it relates to this case that was actually illegal, even with his jewelry. Okay. So what we had prosecutors and judges and things of that nature that actually kind of teamed up to kind of railroad him, um, because they needed to cover some things up, because it was said that Antoinette Franks actually knew a lot on these judges and things of that nature. I know even now, I know even back then, that it is illegal to have a police officers on a jury, okay? Let alone police officers from out of that parish, they put on this young man's jury. That was unheard of. A police officer and a 911 dispatcher. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is, hold on, I'm trying to get my guests up here. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to get our guests up here tonight. I'm kind of walking them through it. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hello. How you doing?
Oh, hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right,
Um,
what's up?
I'm glad that you can make it tonight.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Well, I have my audience here, and what we wanted to do was because we know that you've never really even done any interviews, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And we know that your story with Antoinette Franks was a national story. We've seen A&E, many different national channels do stories on your case. Why do you think that you haven't had the opportunity to actually, well, you spoke about it on my show one other time. Why do you think you haven't had the opportunity to speak about your case?
Well, not many people want the truth because the truth hurt a lot of people who climb the ladder on my case. Um, what the things and the way they went about getting a conviction, and a lot of people don't.
Oh, your phone kind of Rogers, your phone is kind of acting up. And you guys, this is Rogers Lacaze.
How y'all doing?
Okay. And you said not many people want the truth.
That's a fact. They don't want the truth. The truth
Okay.
is, an innocent man been incarcerated now for over 27 years for a crime he didn't commit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How old were you when you went to jail?
18.
Okay. So I want to go back to, and that was what, 1994?
5.
1995. So I want to go back to the beginning. We all know that Antoinette Franks was a police officer at the time at the New Orleans Police Department. What I kind of want you to do is take us back. How did you end up meeting Antoinette Franks?
I was actually involved in an armed robbery. I had somebody had armed robbed me and shot me in the face. And while I was in the hospital, she was one of the police that came to the scene.
Uh huh. How old were you at the time?
18.
Okay. And how old was Antoinette?
23.
Okay, so she was 23 at the time. You was 18 and she was 23. And how did that start off? Did you actually make a play for her, or what?
No, actually, no. Honestly, no. She just kept saying that, hey, I can help you achieve a better life. So it started out like that. All that was actually a ploy to frame me for a triple murder.
Okay. So do you think that this triple murder they already had in the play before, she had that in mind when she actually started dealing with you?
It's obvious not after many years of reading the case and evaluating and analyzing everything. It's obvious now that that was already in play. As you know, her brother, which was Adam Frank, got caught with the murder weapon in his possession 3 years after the crime.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because even in the beginning, we heard a lot about, just looking at the national medias and how they always kind of embellish and put their twang on stuff because, they kind of do it for entertainment. They talked about, that you and her, they kind of made it like you all went on this crime spree together and you kind of guided her. Can you tell me what kind of relationship that you all had?
We actually just had a decent regular relationship. Like, it wasn't to the point where she or I was in love with each other or any, maybe a little in lust with each other, but not at all in love with each other. And we wasn't a couple or anything of that nature there, as they paint the picture.
Okay. All right. So you all was just kind of like in lust.
Yes,
Now,
correct.
during that time, Antoinette and because I know you can't stay on too long. During that time, Antoinette had did when you was talking to her, when you was dating her, did you ever think that she had any psychological problems?
Being freshly 18 at the time, honestly, I knew that she was different, but not. I couldn't make the call on her having the psychological problems. I just knew she was different, and when I see that, me and only knowing her for like 2.5 months, she had bought all these clothes for me and put them in her closet and brought me to the house. Like, this is your side of the closet. I'm like, are you serious? Like, so I knew something wasn't all the way right, but I didn't know to what extent.
Okay. So when you was 18 years old, she kind of went and started showing you things that, maybe you had never seen before.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So during that time, Antoinette Franks she was a New Orleans police officer. Had you ever seen her do any corrupt things while on duty?
Um, not exactly, because when you say corrupt things, it's it's custom that in Orleans Parish that police pretty much do as they please. So, I mean, I guess with that being said, yes, I did honestly, but it's the norm in Orleans Parish.
Mm-hmm. Okay. During that time, had you met her brother Adam? Did you ever meet him?
Yes, I did have the opportunity to meet him, and I kind of sensed then that both of them had a more relationship than a brother and sister. I did sense that.
Okay. When you say more of a relationship than brother and sister, what did you witness?
He was basically her lover, and he was jealous of the fact that she even had a friend.
Okay. Okay. So they were basically like lovers and the reason I asked you that is because later on after Antoinette was arrested, her father was actually found up buried up under her home, right?
That's correct. But one single shot to the head, and it had been that they actually had been cashing his checks for many years, for a whole year. And the thing is that even NLPD, a lot of that they didn't want to come out. It has came out, but a lot of that still like has not been in a situation where they wanted people they wanted people to forget about that. You know what I'm saying? So when you say of a person who have mental illness, mental situation, this is a person that both her and her brother buried the dad under the house. Keep in
Mm,
mind at the time of my arrest and um, quick trial, I had never been convicted of anything.
okay, all right. So let's go back to the day of the murder. Back in 1995, there was a Asian shop. Was it an Asian restaurant that Antoinette Franks actually did uh, secondary employment for, which means it was a part-time job outside of the New Orleans Police Department. She worked for this restaurant. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. Had you ever been to that restaurant before?
No, never. Never.
Okay. So on that particular day, there was a family, an Asian family, and I was actually looking for some video of that. But I see they kind of scattered out through the internet. There was actually an Asian family that was killed. Now, did you know anything about that prior to the police coming to your doorstep?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And just getting the opportunity to speak right now, I never had. But my heart goes out to the victim family. You know what I'm saying? But I really would like for them to get the right person. And I mean, I wish absolute like closure for everybody. The fact of the matter is, everything that shows my innocence, the front to it, has been revealed. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that my clothing, my hands, everything was tested by NOPD, negative for both blood and gunpowder. Um, I actually had alibi witness at the time, but because everybody was so afraid of NOPD, nobody came testify. But when I had a rehearing in 2014/15, I did have the people come and testify and say I was at the pool hall with them at the time.
Oh wow. So on that day when um, NOPD came to question you, tell us what happened on that day back in
Actually,
1995.
my mom called me, and my mom called me and asked where I was, and I actually told her I had just left the pool hall. I was with my brother and his girl, and she said, "Well, the police at my house, and they said that they need to talk to you." And I said, "In regards to what?" And she said, "Hold on." And it was on the phone. He said that we need to speak with you in regards to something that Antoinette Frank did. And I said, "What?" And he said, "We couldn't see." And I said, "Well, not unless my mom's gone, because I know one thing, y'all not to be trusted." And they brought my mom with them, and they said, "Hey, that's the clothes you had on." I said, "Yes." They took the clothes, and I went to homicide division. And when I got to homicide division, um, they told my mom she could leave, and I will be released in maybe an hour or so. And I stayed in homicide division for over 8 hours, and I was beaten, slapped, whipped with a telephone book. My genitals was grabbed and squeezed by NOPD officers. This was almost 28 years ago. No cameras was in interrogation. Um, as I said, I've been saying the same thing nearly 30 years. I don't have anything to hide, as you can see. They've been trying to silence me for almost 30 years, and I won't go away. I won't put my head down. I don't have anything to hide at all. But they do. They do. I stayed on that road 25 years of my life. 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I've been
during your, I'm sorry, go ahead. You can
yes,
keep going.
yes. No, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so during your trial, you ended up going to trial. Now, didn't Antoinette Franks actually write a letter to the district attorney for you?
She actually wrote a letter to me, and she said that I am sorry for implicating you in these murders, and I hope that you are vindicated, but I will do something on your behalf. And so I gave the letter to my attorney. I gave the letter to my attorney. At the time, it was Lane Tripp at that time, and Lane Tripp said that she would present it in a hearing. Well, when that hearing came up, she said that she had misplaced the letter. I don't think it was by coincidence or accident. All this stuff is pretty much tied in. But yeah, she did send me a letter apologizing to me and saying that she was gonna make it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So why do you think that she implicated you in the murder?
Well, it's obvious now. Not only did we always have an idea that our brother
Your
took
phone
part in the
your
murder,
your, your phone kind of breaking
not
up a little bit.
not only have we always had an idea that her and her brother did the murder, but after 3 years, the brother was actually caught with a contended murder weapon. And you got to keep in mind, you got millions of people in the world, but her brother was actually caught with the murder weapon in his possession on another unrelated armed robbery. So our thoughts was that her and her brother had committed the murder and that she was protecting her brother and using me as a fall guy. But now it's known. We also have two affidavits from two individuals who done time with her brother, saying that he admitted to him that him and his sister done the murders.
Okay. So during this time that you was actually convicted, you had a judge that seemed to have it in for you. Do you want to talk to them about all the things that this judge was involved in as it relates to your case?
Well, one of the biggest things we found out during a hearing in 2015, we actually obtained a picture that was taken at Forshade. And in the picture, the victim daddy and my judge actually sitting two chairs down from each other at graduation class in high school. So the reason for my judge having such a vendetta is that he actually knew the victim's family. And of course, anybody that's that knows somebody and a person was murdered, they're gonna have some real strong feelings about that. I would. Um, but when you're a judge and you take an oath, you have to do the right thing. And in this case, Judge Marullo did. You can pull up Judge Marullo's name. He got a long history of all type of corruption, but now he's retired and recently just got jailed for driving up a one-way street for being intoxicated.
Okay. And the victims in your case, they were owners of the Asian restaurant, and also one of them was an off-duty police officer that was also working the inside of the restaurant that night. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when he says that Judge Marullo, one of the victims, he knew the family really well. They're talking about there was another police officer that was involved. Now, what was Antoinette Frank's motive for going into that restaurant?
Well, keep in mind, at the time I was at the pool hall when this took place, and I have phone records to show that I was calling her during the time of the murder. So, I mean, I don't know what her intentions was because, of course, she and I didn't plan anything or plot anything. But it's obvious now that they had a situation between her brother, and the slain officer, Mr. Ronald Williams. Still to this day, after doing thorough investigation from both sides, they still have never confirmed that any money was taken from the restaurant. And that's one of the things I like to point out that even though they say it was a murder, unarmed robbery, they have never proved that. And it's always been a cloud in regard to that because when a person says that $10,000 was stolen and not one single penny was recovered, it always leaves like what really happened and why.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So during your trial, can you kind of speak about how unfair your trial was? Because Like I was saying, in the history, as long as I've known been a part of the criminal justice system, have even worked for the police departments, I've never known anybody to have a situation like yours as it relates to the jury. You want to talk about that?
Yes. I actually, for a capital murder case, of course, not knowing any of this 28 years ago, but for a capital murder case, it normally takes 2, maybe 3 weeks to pick a jury. My jury was picked in one day, and two police officers sat on my jury. One of them was actually a dispatcher the night that the crime took place. That's being litigated right now. But two police sat on the jury. It took one day to pick a jury for a capital case. It took 3 months to go to trial from the time I was indicted. Normally, it takes 2 years to go to trial on a capital case. So a lot of people had a lot of things to hide. And keep in mind, I'm gonna be 100 with it. I tell anybody, when I went to trial, I was deaf, dumb, and blind. I didn't know anything about nothing.
Mm-hmm. So when you went to trial, of course, you had a trial and you was convicted. How long did it take them to convict you again?
Actually, my trial lasted a week, but they picked my jury in one day.
Wow, for a capital murder case, it lasted 1 week.
Yes. Keep in mind, my attorney had at all zero time to investigate.
Okay.
And
All right.
investigation is the key to anything.
Absolutely. Okay. And so once you was convicted, of course, you was given what? The death penalty?
Yes, I received the death penalty once I was convicted.
Okay. And kind of tell us about that and what has
I
happened
received the death.
since.
Since then,
Yes, you was given the death penalty, but that has since been overturned. Am I right?
that's correct. That's correct. Which I felt that was extremely another part of a flaw because um, what has changed in the case,
Mm-hmm.
I felt that you sentenced me to die for a crime I didn't commit. Then you overturn the case, and then the DA decides that he's not going to fight the sentence, but only the conviction. Um, for me, that's no justice.
Mm-hmm. So let me
And
ask you something. No, go ahead.
I know, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people because I have talked to a lot of people and spoke to a lot of people, and they always say, "Well, if you're innocent, why are you still incarcerated?" Well, keep in mind, this is Louisiana. And when they make the mistake, or should I change it? Not a mistake. When they plan something and plot something, they do not want to say that they done wrong. They don't. But once again, as I said, my evidence shows that I was framed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because going back to to when they actually came and pick you up, you was actually tested for gun residue and things of that nature. Am I right? Your phone breaking up again.
I have proof of my clothes being tested, my shoes being tested, socks being tested. I have proof of that. I
Mm-hmm.
think I presented it to you as well. All of the proof.
Absolutely, you did. You absolutely did. So why do you think that NOPD went along with Antoinette, or why did you think they went along with framing you, even though they knew that it was her brother that was actually involved in the crime?
Well, it's known now that the brother has a lot on the NOPD. So to keep the can of worms closed, it was just better to frame me.
Okay. Because that was around the time that NOPD, there was actually a lot of corruption, and later the FBI actually had to come in and
That's
clean up the
correct.
department.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
that was around that era, and later on, the FBI had to come in and clean up the department because they was actually framing a lot of people. That was actually murder involved. I'm thinking from a few of the police officers that was on the
That's correct.
force
That's
at the
correct.
time. So, with all of that being said, have you had any contact with Antoinette Frank since then?
I have never had any contact with her, um, as far as me writing her, she's writing me. But I actually seen her once in passing, and she said, "I'm gonna do the right thing," and I just dismissed that. I just dismissed that.
Okay. Somebody says, did a grand jury bring down the charge on you?
Yes, the grand jury did. You got to keep in mind it don't take much for a grand jury to bring a charge down.
Okay. So does he have a chance at getting out? That's that. And well, actually, that's something, Chocolate City, that they're working on right now. Um, uh, do you kind of want to talk about, without telling too much, how proactive persons are working to try and help you with your case?
Yeah, we very much we're in court right now, and we're at first stage, and we're trial. Um, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, Supreme Court. My judge, which was Frank Maruto, and the person who made my motion, which is Frank. And Frank has a type of association because name is
Your
signed
your
out
your your phone breaking up. Your phone is breaking up. We can't hear you.
about before the murder, and he was being investigated my judge, and people investigated so that he cannot decide as my judge, and he still did. So I received a new trial on that, but it was overturned by the Louisiana Supreme Court. Um,
Oh,
you listen. I deserve to be home. I definitely don't deserve to be in prison. I have never murdered anybody, and that's what I'm in prison for. But I'm asking them just to give me the opportunity to have a new trial and let me win my freedom. I
mhm. Your phone is breaking up because we can't actually hear you. Are you there? Yeah, I think his phone is consistently freezing up. But I think what he was trying to tell us was, at the time, the judge that sat on his case was actually up under investigation at the time of his trial and was not even supposed to be sitting on his case. I think his phone ended up messing up. The judge was not even actually supposed to be presiding over this case. And what he didn't get the opportunity to tell you all was that the gun that Antoinette actually had, and her brother was later caught with, was given to them by the judge. So there was a lot of stuff going on. I actually had wanted the opportunity because we had started talking about doing this tonight. Now his name is Rogers Lacaze. Rogers Lacaze. Hold on, let me put his name up here so you all can go and read about it, because I knew he couldn't stay on too long. If he can come back up. Yeah, he's saying his phone is messing up. The phone is messing up. But I'm getting ready to put his name, let me see, up here, because that's actually one of the cases, you guys, that I actually looked into. I've had his mother to come from New Orleans, Louisiana, and to be on my TV show. And there is so much evidence pointing to that this young man did not do this. Based on the mere fact that they went and got police officers Okay, he says the weather is extremely bad there. So the phone is messing up. But based on the fact that they went and got police officers, commissioned police officers, and a 911 dispatcher that was actually on duty the night of the murder with the NOPD to be on that jury, that case should be thrown out. That's even illegal. First of all, you don't put police officers on the jury, and you sure don't put police officers that work for the same department on a jury. That's, I mean, they'll find him guilty based on prejudice. So they was actually planted there so that they could convict him. Okay. You know, they actually did that so that they could frame him. And y'all, when I started doing a lot of research on this case, there was so much stuff that I found out from the corruption of the judge. You know, they actually, the Asians that own the restaurant, of course, they had family members that actually lived, and a lot of people say, well, they ID'd him. Okay, but if they was coerced into saying something, and here's the thing, they ended up leaving New Orleans, and to this very day, they don't like to talk about it because there was other things that was going on, and I hope that they actually get the opportunity to talk about all those things that was actually going on in that police department, you know, especially during that time, which is one of the reasons the FBI had to come in and overthrow a lot of the leadership and take over the department and arrested I don't know how many officers within that department, you know, because they was out on the street terrorizing people. They was committing robberies, they was committing murders. I mean, this is a known fact. There was actually a documentary done on it at that time, what was going on with NOPD. And so this happened around that time. And I think what Rogers had wanted, he didn't get the opportunity to say when I had asked him why did they help to line him up, because Antoinette Franks they had been doing so many corrupt things that she was privy to, she knew of, that she was, they said she had said that if, because her and her brother was so close, that if they messed with her brother, she was going to tell everything that she knew as it relates to a lot of what those officers did. So they actually helped to set him up and let her brother go free. It is documented. It was two other inmates to come forward to say that her brother bragged about being at that restaurant and killing those people with her. And here's a young man that has been in jail since he was 18 years old for a crime he did not commit. There was never any proof of anything other than they said that the people that survived ID'd him. But of course, if they was coerced into IDing them, these were people that could barely speak English. Of course, if they was coerced into ID saying that he did it, they're going to say that. Okay. But I think what has happened in his case has actually been a travesty of justice. It is a travesty of justice. And you heard him say that she actually wrote a letter that he gave to his attorney. And because his attorney was working with the system, he didn't have a paid attorney. He had a public defender at that time that actually works for the government. When it came time for the trial, for her to, you know, she was supposed to keep that letter that he had, that Antoinette wrote to him saying that she was going to help to get him out of there because he didn't do this. She claimed that she had lost it. Okay. So there were a lot of corrupt things that went on, and he has never done any other interviews other than he did an interview called in one time before some years back on my TV show when his mother was on, and tonight. It's been 28 years. That's a long time for someone to be in jail for a murder that they did not commit. Now, He was actually given the death penalty, but they quietly overturned that because they know he did not do this. It was overturned. They did not fight it, but they don't want to release him. They don't want to release him. Even on the other show that I have up, I've had people to post in comments up under that show from out of that parish and say, well, even though he didn't do this, he was in and out of trouble when he was 16 years old. Like he said, he had never committed a murder. He was out there in the streets like a 16-year-old, going to jail and stuff for, selling. He admitted he was, selling drugs or whatever as a 16-year-old. He said, but I had never killed anybody. And that's one of the things that somebody posted in my comment. Well, we never believed that he did it, but I mean, it was best that he go to jail anyway because he was already in and out of trouble as a teenager. How can you give somebody life, 28 years, and know that they did not commit a crime, and then say, well, they was they was in and out of trouble as a teenager, so it was best that they go to jail. And here's the thing about the laws in Louisiana, they are so corrupt that even when when you have been sentenced, even when there is a conviction, later on, if it is found out, because they got those old French laws, Louisiana laws are different than any other laws all over the country. They still go by those old French laws, those slave laws, okay? Their lawyers practice law differently. Even when you are convicted and it is found that there was corruption, a sentence can never be overturned. I can't understand how some of those black lawmakers have not gotten together and threw that type of stuff out. So even though they know at this point that there was corruption, if you get convicted and it is later on found out that the police committed some corruption or the district attorney's office or whoever in the state of Louisiana, once you are convicted, it could never be overturned no matter what. Okay? You're still at the mercy of the governor. So stuff like this, y'all, this right here is just crazy. That young man was 18 years old when he went to jail. I mean, people talk about, well, he was messing around with her. Well, you talking about an 18-year-old young man that's messing around with a police officer that's giving him money? He said, yeah, they did a lot of things. That they was messing around. He was an 18-year-old child. But it still does not mean that he committed murder. And there was never any proof that he did it. He never had any gun residue on his hand. This lady was later found, and they tried to sweep that up under the rug. She killed her own damn daddy and buried him up under the house. Okay? It is believed that she killed one of her own uncles. There was never any proof of it, but it was of her father. And as he said, they were still cashing his checks and stuff, even after they shot him in the head. Their own daddy. But yet you have a young man in jail. Even when people have gone to try and interview her, they say she still got that arrogance and she's still mentally ill. She's still mentally ill. But I guess you can't change crazy. Absolutely. She handpicked him to be her personal victim. And as he said before, there was never any proof that there was a robbery. They said that $10,000 was stolen, but the money was never recovered. Why wasn't the money ever recovered? They never got out of the store. Because what actually ended up happening was the family that hid in the freezer that they did not see at the restaurant called the police. And when the police pulled up, Antoinette Franks was still there. Okay? Or pulled back up with them or something. And The girl said, the Asian lady said, when they asked her, when she walked up and said, "What's going on?" Antoinette was in shock that they didn't see two of the surviving family members hiding in the restaurant. The girl said in an interview, Antoinette tried to act like she didn't know what was going on. And she said, "You know what happened. You just did this to my family." So that's how they was actually able really to arrest Antoinette. Okay. So y'all, this is one of the cases that I have been wanting to talk about, because this is just one of the injustices that people don't ever even know about. You got a young man. That's why I always say it is better to let 10 guilty men go free than to convict one innocent man. Okay? And you have one young man that has been in jail for 28 years, all of his adult life. Okay? He's been in jail longer than he's been out, because he went when he was 18. And you got another young man who is back in jail right now and was actually caught with the murder weapon. But because Antoinette Franks is still holding a lot of stuff over NOPD head, even back then, a lot of those officers are not there anymore. Okay. It's been 28 years. They still don't want to do the right thing. And they're giving this young man's family a hard time. Because based on having police officers that work for NOPD on their jury, that whole case should be overturned and thrown out. Okay? Just based on that. Okay? So, like I said, his phone was messing up. And I was trying to find some video. Hold on one second. I think I found something. It's hard because it's been so long. Other than a lot of the video that we have seen, you guys, like on A&E and things of that nature, where it kind of put a twist on stuff, there isn't a whole lot of video from back then. But I just found something and I want to show you guys. But stuff like this, y'all, this is the type of stuff that I like to bring to people's attention, because I think this right here is definitely a travesty of justice. Hold on one second. I'm getting ready to show you guys right now.
Well, this all happened just within the last 2 hours today. An Orleans criminal district judge has resentenced Roger Lacaze to life in prison without parole. This is the latest in that stunning triple murder case that has gripped the New Orleans Police Department and this community for the last 24 years. Lacaze was convicted on 3 counts of capital murder along with ex-NOPD officer Antoinette Frank. The duo both sentenced to die for killing Frank's fellow police officer Ronald Williams and 2 members of the family that owned the restaurant they were robbing. Lacaze was set to die by lethal injection on March 15, 1996, but that never happened. And after repeat appeals, he was back in court today. At today's resentencing, the judge noted that the death sentence is now off the table. He sentenced Lacaze to life without parole instead. His mother, who was inside that courtroom today, said she will not stop fighting for his freedom.
The clothes he had on, the white tennis, are still white today. The long sleeve shirt was no powder burn ever found on his hands, no evidence, no blood, no nothing. And they want to give him a life sentence without parole. It's like a puzzle. You can have a puzzle with 90 pieces. If one missing, something's wrong with that puzzle, right?
The judge did not consider any of that evidence that the mom just talked about here in court today. However, he did consider the defense's argument that Lacaze was too young and impressionable to receive a life sentence for a crime he committed when he was 18 years old. The judge dismissing that motion, and he also denied the defense's suggestion for a resentence. He did allow Lacaze's family to sit with him in the courtroom today for a little bit of one-on-one time with his family. I should also note that Antoinette Frank has not been executed in this case either. She remains in prison. Reporting live, I'm Jennifer Crockett, WDSU News.
You know what I find weird about that is that the judge would not consider. Did you hear what she said? That what his mother just said, there was no evidence, there was no blood, there was nothing ever found that linked him to the murder scene. The judge would not consider that, but he did consider that, well, he was 18 years old and he was too young for something that she just said. You know, they completely rejected the fact that he was not there on the murder scene. Okay? It's like, I mean, that's just kind of out of this world. That's out of this world. You know, I was trying to find some more video. Antoinette did a lot when she was on that police department. She did. And there was another young man that she dealt with before Rogers Lacaze. She kind of attached herself to young men like 17 and 18 years old. Okay? She always attached herself. She was really a sick person. Hold on one second. I'm trying to find it. There isn't a whole lot of stuff. Hold on, you guys.
Antoinette Frank was born in Opelousas, New Orleans, and
Hold on, you guys.
she always wanted to be a police officer. She was a member of the Opelousas Junior Police as well as the New Orleans Police Explorers. Antoinette had a very, very rough childhood. Her brother was a fugitive, and her father was a veteran that suffered with PTSD and that popped in and out of her life. There were times that things got so bad that she needed to seek psychiatric help. She has also claimed that her father abused her when she was a child, and once Antoinette turned 20, she applied to the New Orleans Police Department.
I was trying to get a video up. Hold on.
Triple murder case that has gripped. After repeat appeals, he was back in court today. At today's resentencing, the judge noted that the death sentence is now off the table. He sentenced Lacaze to life without parole instead. His mother, who was inside that courtroom today, said the judge also denied
her partner and two others in Quang Vu. The Savage Act still.
Okay. I'm actually going to do more. Yeah, she's a sociopath. Hold on, let me go back up because I was looking for some video. They really don't have. She was a power tripper, a whole demon. Yes, she was. When does a judge allow defendants to sit with their family after court? Very sick, a demon from pits of hell. What did they say was the evidence that they said that the Antoinette, in the beginning, Antoinette said it was him. She actually implicated him, if I'm not mistaken. And then she later changed it. She later changed it because she did not want to implicate her brother. You know, it's just it's weird. She has to have a mental issue against men. Taunting the family is why a judge would do such a thing. I was told she was to be right. They say that her father actually abused her as a child. She never should have been on that police department. She kept failing the psychological exam, y'all. I've never in my life ever heard of somebody consistently failing the psychological exam of a police department. And because the police department have their own psychiatrists. Okay. And if you fail them, you're not getting in. But they allowed her to go and hire her own psychiatrist. And he passed her. She could have, ain't no telling how much she paid him. And he gave her a letter saying that she was mentally stable, and NOPD accepted it and let her go through the academy. So she never should have been on the department. Okay. And I think it's a sad thing when people are coming forward now. Like you said, two people have come forward that has been cellmates with her brother, saying that he bragged about killing those people. And that the motive wasn't actually robbery. The officer, okay, so Antoinette was working off duty in a restaurant, in an Asian restaurant. And there was another officer, a Ronald, I think his name was Ronald Wilson, was actually working off duty, off duty in that Asian restaurant. Antoinette and Ronald was friends at one time, but Antoinette had started having issues with Ronald because she felt like Ronald was backdooring her and getting more hours at that Asian restaurant than her. She felt like he was trying to get her pushed out, and so that he could work there and not her. And so they was actually into it about that. See, it's a lot of stuff that they didn't talk about. And Antoinette and her brother actually went there when he was on duty that night and got into it with him, and they ended up shooting him. And just because they shot him, they ended up shooting the owners of the restaurant. They just didn't know that their children was back there, and they ended up hiding in the freezer. Okay. So you guys, this right here is something that I definitely want to, continuously talk more about. Because as I say, when there are injustices like this, you have to shine a light on this. This judge that he had all types of complaints from Black people because of his rulings, because of some of his dealings, a lot of the things that he did. Okay. And how she got that gun that was used, the judge that sat on that case actually gave it to her. People don't know that Antoinette Franks actually knew that judge personally. That's a lot of stuff that they covered up. She actually got the death penalty too. Her sentence was never overturned. She just ain't been. She just still sitting on death row. They'll probably never do nothing to her. He says that the weather there is bad. I'm ready to send him a message and see. I just sent him a message asking him if he could get back on. I don't know if it's raining there or what, but I definitely want him to get back on. Hold on, guys. Okay, I'm back. She probably was sleeping with that judge too. Allegedly, that is true. Letitia, you hit it right on the nose. Allegedly, that is true. That was one of the things that was going. That was one of the rumors that she, you know. Okay, he said the weather is so bad, his phone is still acting up. It won't allow him to get back on right now. Okay. But y'all, this is one of the things that I like. These are the types of cases and things of that nature that I like to bring awareness to, because you have a lot of people that are in jail right now for crimes that they absolutely did not commit. You know, and this young man was railroaded, got that judge gun, and blackmailed him allegedly. So what I want is I want for him to be able to come back on and actually tell his story. Because when somebody has been sitting in jail for 28 years, I really and truly wish that there was some kind of way, because when you start dealing with, you talk about Louisiana, when you start dealing with lawyers from that state, a lot of those lawyers don't really want to go up against, because that was such a big case. They get fearful. They'll take the money, but they get fearful. I think what he's going to have to do is find an attorney that has a license to practice in Louisiana, but that does not actually live in Louisiana. Now, the only problem with that is when they're not from Louisiana, sometimes those judges get vindictive and kind of shoot down anything that they try to present. But as long as you have a lawyer that actually lives in the state of Louisiana, a lot of times you have to be careful about them, because they'll end up selling out, because they know they got to work in that system. They want to win some cases, and if you make them mad, some of those judges mad enough, they'll make sure you don't win no case. They'll make sure that you don't win no cases. And so that's I think that's what he's running into. A lot of lawyers that have backdoored him, uh because they was basically just looking out for themselves. They didn't really want to go up against that system, because they thought about, hell, I do gotta continue to practice law. These judges get together, they shoot down, they overrule or object to anything that I do, and I won't have a career. And that's sad. That's why I say, I want to keep this out there, because I do want the young man to get out. He deserves to be out. He been in jail for 28 years for something he didn't do. For something that he did not do. They've tried to go to the Innocence Project. The Innocence Project talk about how they'll look into it, but they're kind of they overloaded with cases. They're bombarded with cases. And if you talk about the Innocence Project, kind of help those cases that are sensationalized, that's got a lot of media. It's sad now. It's more political. They kind of help those people that have been able to get people to help them bring a lot of media attention to their cases, because they really just want to look good. So I think it'll be important for Rogers to start helping Rogers get a lot of media attention. That's true, Dennis. That is exactly what is keeping him in. I can't understand how they've started electing a lot of black leadership down there, and they haven't worked to get those laws overturned. Okay. I'm hoping to get him back on here um, one day really soon. Like I said, he said the weather down there is really bad right now, so his phone is acting up. Uh, yes, he may be in for about 30 or so, but he can get out, God will it. Where's Wheezy Infant at a time like this? I like being Crump. Don't help nobody if the case is right. Being Crump. It's sad to say, being Crump don't don't deal with any case that's not high profile. That's sad. If it does not have a lot of media coverage around it, he's not going to deal with it, and that's sad to say. And being Crump is being financed. Y'all be surprised who he being financed by. He's being financed by this white law firm. He's actually being financed by this white law firm. So they kind of use being Crump. I hate to say it. They kind of use being Crump to get the black people, as they say, the black people emotional. Okay, that's what they do. They kind of use him. It's sad to say that a lot of times when you start seeing a lot of these black people pop up, so like being Crump, and I'm not trying to take away his accolades, but a lot of times they are being controlled by other in the background, and it's not another black person. They're being controlled by Arabs or Hispanics now, um, or white people, and they don't give a damn. They get somebody that know how to work the black people because they know we're emotional people, and they pay them a lot of money. And more black people don't give a damn. They saying, "Well, hell, I got to look out for my family," and they taking the money, and they work in their own community. I ain't saying being Crump ain't never did nothing good. You know, I think he's known for that Trayvon Martin's case. But I'm trying to figure out what in the hell they did for Trayvon. George Zimmerman ass still out and ain't nothing happened to him. So I mean, you know, I'm still trying to figure that one out. So only thing they did was his rise to fame was basically off of words and getting black people emotional. Cause George Zimmerman still out here walking around. If he ain't in jail, it ain't nothing. You know, it still ain't nothing happen. If a case isn't gonna bring him a big check, Ben doesn't want it. No, he don't fool with it. It's gotta have a lot of media attention. I actually there was this big case in Memphis. I forgot the name, but I was asked to come and by the CME church. I was actually asked to come and record it. So me and some of the people that work at my video company went and actually recorded the case. There was a young man unjustly killed in Memphis. Okay. He was killed by a security guard, not a police officer, but a security guard, a white security guard. So I had the opportunity to meet Ben Crump, okay? And I looked at Ben Crump's entourage that day, and I didn't see not one black person in his camp. He had all white lawyers with him, a whole lot of them. And they knew how to work the crowd also. And they would pat him on the back when he got off the damn stage. Good job, because the church was just up in a yay, yeah, go Ben, and they don't give a damn. They was patting him on his back, and one of them actually, the one who the lawyer who actually works real close with him, he got up there and he worked the crowd too. He was saying, "That's right, we want justice for black people." Okay. And then once they got the crowd emotional, being, got down, and he had his entourage of white lawyers, I didn't see not now black one. But they say he's financed by those white lawyers. Okay, they don't care about putting a black face out front, because for a lot of other people, unlike us, we be wanting the fame. They want the money, and they don't care who they put up front, because they, whoever can make the money. That's right, Tanya. You absolutely right. So, y'all, this a lot of too much of this stuff is going on, and I've been airing stuff like this even on my TV show for many years. That's why y'all don't ever see me compromising on Young Dolph's case. I know the real on Young Dolph's case. Okay? So you don't ever see me compromising, and I never will. Because too much of this stuff has been going on for too long. Okay, it's been going on for too long. And stuff like this has to be talked about. In the state, yes, it's in the state of Louisiana. Catalina says, Letitia, as you shouldn't. Ben had nothing but palm colored people at George Floyd's press conference when the officer was convicted. I'm telling you, for him to be with black people, I didn't see him. He didn't even have a black assistant. But they come and work the black crowd by getting emotionalism. It's how they do it. By getting the black people emotional. It absolutely is, Tanya. The Black Lives Matter movement was always a hoax to get black people emotional, to actually go and destroy more stuff. You had people that was part of the Black Lives Matter movement in Memphis. They was all downtown. Whenever they got mad, the movement would get together, and people was trying to figure out what was the money coming from, and they was going and kicking out windows in businesses, and in other cities they was burning down stores and stuff in their neighborhood. How in the hell you gonna go and tear up your own damn neighborhood that you got to live in? Hell, a lot of them didn't even have no damn cars, and they going and burning up the damn corner store, looting, walking out with drink machines and shit. But that was all in the name of Black Lives Matter. What kind of mess was that? How do they feel like that they was helping our community by going and tearing up the neighborhoods that they had to lay their damn heads in? What kind of mess was that? Black Lives Matter. They got up all kinds of signs, and they all in the window kicking out damn windows and kung fu fighting and shit. Walking out with drink machines and all that kind of stuff. How in the hell was that justice? Trying to get justice for some damn body. They got insurance leaks for those businesses. You got that right, Catalina. You absolutely right. Okay? They sitting up breaking breaking out windows in their neighborhood. Hell, some of them so crazy they was kicking out windows in their own damn house. Justice for so and so. How you gonna go and kick out windows in your house? Hell, half of them won't get up, won't go to no job. Can't get them to get up and go to no damn job. Won't change clothes, won't wash clothes, won't wash their ass. But they out there, they'll get up out of bed. I'm getting ready to go fight for justice. And a lot of them the ones out there committing the crime. That's right, Tanya. Yes, they was kicking out windows of their own damn house. We fight for justice. Drop kicking their own damn windows out their house that they got to live in. Now, Jeff, you can talk about it. If you don't agree, if you disagree, you can say it, and you can say why. I want to hear why you disagree. We having a conversation. You don't have to be quiet. I want to hear why you disagree. You don't have to hold it in, and I'm serious. Because if you disagree, I want us to come be able to conversate about it for you to express your opinion. They say that real rich guy was behind that Black Lives Matter movement. Um, what is that white guy's name? He's a billionaire. They say he was behind that Black Lives Matters movement. Tamir Rice mama exposed Ben Crump. Really? I never saw that though. Where somebody exposed him. I just know he didn't really deal with anything that was not sensationalized by the media. I just know when I seen him at that church, he didn't have not one black person with him. His whole team was white. And it leads me to believe he was working for them because when he got off the stage, they was patting him on the damn back. So it was more like they might have been his damn bosses because he had that church in an uproar in emotion. They said a Black Lives Matter lady done bought 4 extravagant homes using the Black Lives Matter donations. And here's the thing, if Jeff is in here, here's the thing. Yeah, George Soros. Exactly. That's exactly who it is. I agree sometimes if they knew how to organize. See, this is what I can't understand. When Dr. King and them did the people's movement back in the 60s, they was organized. And they got results. Okay? But I can't understand why our people ain't getting we got the numbers. How come we are not organizing to get results? And rioting ain't gonna do it. Tearing up your own neighborhood is not going to do it. So what was the need in going and burning up stores? And here's the thing. A lot of the businesses that they was going and tearing up were black businesses. That's asinine. That's an oxymoron. Black Lives Matter, but you kicking out the windows of black businesses and burning up the little corner stores that you got to walk to in your neighborhood. So that don't make no sense to me. A lot of our people don't organize to get results. Because one of the first things that should be taught to our people, because we got the numbers, is to organize and come on one accord in voting and getting in the right politicians and putting together one politician, getting one politician, for each position that's actually qualified, that's going to do what's necessary for the people, and not letting a bunch of sellout cuckabug heads get in a race to divide up the votes. But our people are so easily bought out by money. Now that's the truth, y'all. That I can't say anything different when that's all I've seen. You talk about those laws in Louisiana. When I asked somebody, I said, why is it that we're seeing more black politicians in Louisiana, but they're not working to try to do something about those laws? And they said, well, if they was to bring stuff like that up, they would never be elected. The white people would never vote for them. And that's a shame. So ultimately, they just decide to be submissive. Because if they ain't working to get stuff like that changed, we really ain't even got no business voting for them. What part of Louisiana are you in? Are the 337, is that, because I know 225 is Baton Rouge and 504 is New Orleans. Are you in what, Shreveport, Jesse? Are you in the Shreveport area? Are you in Lafayette? Okay. Okay, Lafayette. Lafayette is, I think, right after you get out of Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. So, Jeff, you saying you don't think that we can organize? Well, at this point, it's sad to say, Jeff, I think at this point, our people are so messed up. It's hard. Like, if you listen to Minister Farrakhan says anytime black people starts to become conscious, drugs are incorporated in some form. Pharmaceutical companies, people getting out, putting their kids and stuff all on Ritalin before they even can stand a chance. Okay, y'all before Baton Rouge. So y'all are right after we come out of Mississippi. I think I went through Lafayette when I went to Baton Rouge. When I drove down there, I've driven down there like twice. Okay. Everyone should read Louisiana versus Rogers Lacaze. I see what convicted him. What convicted him? No, they too far gone for some. Close to Texas. No, that's why those laws are still existing. Two Pistols, what was it that convicted him? I'm interested in knowing what you see. Catalina says, I pulled it up to read later. Let's see. Yes, ma'am, Jacqueline. Is Two Pistols still on here? I just seen him post. Okay. Lord, they done started trying to spam the chat. We ain't even talk about Dolph tonight. And they still trying to spam the chat. The first he was placed at the scene by witnesses. His timelessness didn't match also him being at the pool hall. You're talking about the witnesses that was inside of the that's why we got to have him back on. The witnesses that actually own the restaurant. I know we ain't even talking about Dolph tonight. They normally start trolling. They actually start trolling when we talk about Dolph. But tonight we talk about Rogers Lacaze. Okay. But when I do a story on this again, I'm gonna be able to put up everything because we actually decided we have been talking about it, and then we decided at the last minute today, and I didn't have the opportunity to put some stuff together because I actually like to put when I'm talking about things, I like to go and do the research, have the documentation and things of that nature, especially for stuff like this to put up there. And you have to understand too, Two Pistols, there were a lot of people that was coerced in this situation. And the only witnesses there were the surviving um people. Then it said he used the officer credit card. Yeah, and they say he used the officer credit card, and I asked him about that. And he said that, that wasn't him. I think a lot of LA problem in here, literacy rate. A lot of our people don't even graduate. And see, those were some of the things that I wanted him, that a lot of people that had questions about this case, a lot of them had issues with that. And that's kind of what I wanted him to explain to you all. I think a lot of LA problem in their literacy rate. A lot of people don't graduate from high school in LA. Missy, you probably need to just start going live with your current members. But hold on, you guys. Let me see something. Hold on, you guys. I'm getting ready to I'm getting ready to show y'all something. Hold on one second as it relates to this Rogers case.
Runs the website truthisTreason.net and is active with his local meetup group for Ron Paul in Oklahoma. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us.
I actually want you all to hear a Louisiana police officer talk about what they was made to do and how they was made to frame people. You have to think about too, even in the case of the C murder case, witnesses actually came forward in the beginning and said that C murder did that. Okay? They actually came forward and said that in the beginning, and later on, like years later, now that he's been in jail, they've actually come forward and said they was made and coerced into saying that. They threatened to put these people, family members, in jail and everything. Hold on.
Good to be here. So let's start with your personal background. How did you end up on the police force in New Orleans in the first place?
Well, I was waiting to turn 21 really for several years prior to that.
Really I want y'all to listen to this police officer on the New Orleans Police Department.
DEA, but knew I wanted to do something, and out of the blue.
Well, hold on. What was behind that? Because this interview was not about just the mechanics of your story, but the mechanics of your transformation. So tell us, why did you want to be a police officer? What was the appeal of that? What service were you looking to provide for people?
When I was 18, I actually had a girlfriend that ended up dying in a one car accident, and it was due to drinking and driving. And that really started me on my path to become a police officer, wanting to be that voice of change and to help people. And as cliche as it sounds, I really wanted to kind of change a community, and I thought being a police officer would be one of the quickest ways to do that.
And did the experience live up to your expectation?
It did at the beginning. I sunk into the culture of law enforcement. My first several years, I worked on a proactive street crimes unit. We targeted guns, drugs, stuff like that, and I had a blast. I thought I was doing the best thing for the city, enforcing most of the drug laws, warrants, kicking in doors, and I just lived and breathed doing that. And then one day I just kind of woke up.
Well, hold on. There's another aspect of your work with the police force that I want to point out for the sake of our listeners, because the liberty movement, the broader freedom movement in the United States, full of people that understand that law enforcement officers are the mechanism of oppression of a citizenry by the government, but also they're providing a legitimate service, and they're for legitimate reasons, and that a lot of people in the police force are providing services that would be provided even if we didn't have a government monopoly on the use of force. Services for the public safety, for property rights.
Hold on, y'all. I want y'all to hear what this officer said they was made to do.
A potential burglar, and using drug laws to get him arrested. They would target college kids, namely. It was easy, or tourists.
Okay, let me go back
into it, and I started out with the best intentions, and then once I got into the culture, I just kind of fell into the worst aspects of it. In New Orleans, it's full of corruption. I would say probably 70% of the department should probably be fired or indicted, and so it became a culture, a lifestyle, making easy arrest, making bad arrest. I don't know how many of those I witnessed down there.
Was there like a pressure to rack up statistics?
That was a big thing. I'd say just about every department has an unspoken quota, especially when it comes to arrest. With our task force, we had a 5 arrest minimum goal for every night.
Wow,
and many times,
5 arrest minimum goal for an individual officer in the narcotics unit every night.
Correct. We had a 2-man team.
So what happens to an officer that's out on the street who's going, crap, I've only got 2 arrests for tonight, and it's midnight, I'm off my shift in a few hours. What happens in those kinds of situations?
That's that path that starts taking officers down the easy road, instead of actually trying to make a difference, maybe arresting a potential burglar, and using drug laws to get him arrested. They would target college kids, namely. It was easy, or tourists.
And minorities, of course, as is always the case in the drug war.
Right. Well, in New Orleans, you have a population of 70% or more Black, and the colleges that were down there, quite a few colleges, predominantly rich white kids from the Northeast, just moved to the big city. And so they would just start nickel and diming everybody to rack up 10 or 15 arrests a night.
Wow.
And many times if you made your quota, you could just go ahead and leave shift early. Or if you got a gun,
you could wait. So you're saying a cop
Okay, y'all, I'm back. Y'all already know when y'all see that happens, it's something is my computer acting up, okay? This particular one is acting up. Okay, but this is what I wanted to show you guys, okay? But y'all heard that police officers say how that 70% of that department need to be fired because of how corrupt they were. And they got incentives basically to frame people. Can y'all hear me? Let me see. Hold on, y'all. Okay, I'm trying to see if y'all are able to hear me. Okay. This is what I wanted to show y'all. This is an old interview of mine that I did with him.
Like, you're not the shooter, give us a shooter. Drove to a Burger King establishment where we police station. Actually,
this is the first interview I did with him about 6 years ago, where he actually called into my studio, right? And I actually sat in my studio while he was on the phone and kind of listened to him tell his story. So since he didn't get a chance to do it tonight, I'm going to go back to that.
Any part of that.
Okay, so thanks for calling in and being on this show today.
Excuse me?
Can you hear me?
I didn't hear you that clearly at that time. And, you know, at the time I knew Antoinette, and it was, you know, a time that actually, before then, I was actually a drug game. And, you know, I got out of the drug game, and Antoinette was like, hey, you know, I can get you a job. And that day, she actually got me a job. So she was like, I know a good place we can go celebrate. You know what I'm saying? So the whole thing is, this place was somewhere that she used to work at. And so she was like, you know, once I get off, you know, we can go and celebrate this particular restaurant. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I actually went home and laid down and forgot all about it. And then she came to the house. She was like, look, damn, you know, you're not going to stand me up on, I did get your job today. I was like, okay, cool. So we went to the restaurant. She went in first, and she went to order some drinks. She was like, we're going to go to the movie. And then we went to the movie, got to the place. She was like, you know, she was acting strange, but back then you know, being 18, really just not really having the focus that I do now. I wasn't aware of what was going on. So we went to the movie. She was like, oh, they're not playing what I really want to see. So we went back to the restaurant. And he stayed down there a while. While we was there, they had the guys sweeping up around us. So we had like these little trays to go. And like just fold them up. And, you know, I'd never been in a place where people sweep up while you eat. So I was like, look, I'm ready to push out. We leave. She take me home. While I'm there, my baby mama tell me that my brother called. He said, you know, so hit him back up. Beat him, he called me back. He said, look, you want to go to the pool hall? Cool. I go to the pool hall. I mean, next thing I know, hours later, you know, my mom called me, but let me back up a second. Me and my brother, we go and pick up this young lady named Angela. So Angela went with us to the pool hall. My brother was already there with a female. So while we was there, we shot a little pool, and then we took Angela back home. Keep in mind, Angela was 17 years old, so she had to sneak out the house. Anyway, that's already on record. The whole thing is this. I was never, ever at the restaurant during the time that the incident took place. All of my clothes, my hands, my tennis shoes, everything. What I'm saying, backs that up. All of my clothes, all of my tennis shoes, everything, my tennis shoes, shirt, pants, everything was tested by NOPD. Everything. Everything was negative.
Okay, now, I know we kind of jumped ahead and we got into what happened, which was good. Now, I just kind of want to go back a little bit. Now, Antoinette Franks, she was a New Orleans police officer, am I right?
Yes, certainly, yes.
And at the time, were you, and you were 18 years old, how old was Antoinette?
25.
Okay, she was 25 years old. Now, for those of you that don't know, Antoinette Franks was a New Orleans police officer. Numerous times she had been rejected from the NOPD. Am I right? Because of a mental illness. She had mental illnesses, and she was actually rejected. She had applied numerous times for NOPD and was rejected because she had mental illnesses. But she actually went and seen a doctor outside of NOPD, and then for some reason she ended up getting in. For some reason they kind of went against what their mental health doctors were saying, because I know you have to take a psychiatric test to get into the police department. They kind of went against what their psychiatric doctor said and accepted what doctor she went to see outside of there. Am I right?
You're certainly right.
Okay, and so you were 18 and she was 25, and at the time being an 18-year-old boy, were you all dating?
No, we wasn't dating. Just to be blunt with it, we did have sex, so we wasn't dating at all. I mean, she knew at the time that I had a girlfriend and a baby, and, hey, I mean, it was a female that was allowing me to have sex with her, and she was a authority figure. Hey, I thought I was on top of the world. I mean, I had never even thought about, what caliber of person she was, so that's just what it is.
Now, this restaurant that she worked at, it was like an off-duty job, a job that she did when she was off-duty. Am I right?
Yes.
You said that. Now, did she ever speak about that job? Did she ever speak about any of the people that she worked for in a negative way or anything?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so she never even said anything to you about that job?
Never.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to, get that established. Now, you said the day that this accident actually took place. Well, it wasn't an accident at all, as far as we know, because she actually went in there and she had every intention on doing what she did. You said that she did act a little bit funny, but you didn't think anything of it, and she dropped you off somewhere. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, and the next thing you know, your mom was calling you saying that the police wanted to speak with you.
Correct.
Okay, so what did the police say when they pick you up? What happened with that?
Well, when it came, my mom asked me where I was, what the location was, and I actually told her, I was very familiar with the police at the time, and I told my mom, well, my exact words were, look, Mom, I don't trust them people. If you can come with them, and we can talk. And so they was like, fine, we just want to talk to you, that's it. And I said, could you tell me what it's concerning? They said, well, we just want to talk to you. And I gave them the address to where my brother was, and they came over there to the house, and they didn't do any talking. They said, hey, put your hands out, we're going to cuff you for our safety and your safety. I'm like, what's going on? And my mom was like, well, just listen to what they have to say, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, what clothes you had on tonight? Got the clothes, and we rolled to a Burger King where we stood at. This is a call from an offender at A, Louisiana Department of Corrections Facility. They drove to a Burger King establishment where we sat in a parking lot for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and from there we proceeded over to interrogation over at New Orleans.
Now, was there anything suspicious about when they came and picked you up? Because your mom was in the car with you, right? Your mom rode with you. When you all were in that Burger King lot, was there anything suspicious about that?
To be honest, at that time and moment, only thing I'm thinking is why I'm on this police call. So I wasn't thinking about anything else, to be honest with you. I'm like, what's really going on while I'm in this police call? And they kept just saying, look, we're going to talk to you when we go to the station. So I never really thought about anything else that may have been going on or what they had plans to do.
Mm-hmm. So when you get to the station, what did they say and how did they act?
When I arrived at the police station?
Uh-huh.
When I arrived at the police station, Actually, I passed by two Vietnamese, a young man and a female, and I walked through, and from there I walked upstairs, and one officer came in and we were talking, and I just told him, listen, could you please tell me what's going on? And he was like, well, something took place at a restaurant. Was you at a restaurant tonight? I said, well, he had a restaurant tonight. And from there, like, everything got ugly. I kept telling them I wasn't involved, and from there, they got a telephone book, a yellow-pages telephone book, and started slapping me across the head, in the back of my head, in my face, and I'm talking about things just got ugly from there.
Now, at this time, did they tell you that Antoinette, had they already told you that Antoinette Franks was involved?
Yes, they did.
And they said that she implicated you?
Yes, they did. They said that you know what the bitch did, and the bitch said you was with her.
Now, Now you heard how that he said that the police officers referred to Antoinette Franks, their fellow officer, right? You know what the bitch said, and the bitch said you was with her. You were arrested. Did you have the opportunity to speak with Antoinette at any time?
When I was at a table, the very first time before our case got severed. Before our case got severed, we actually had a hearing together. And, you know, of course, you know, I went off on her, and she was like, everything gonna work out for you. You know, everything gonna work out for you. You know what I'm saying? They gonna find out that you have nothing to do with this. Everything gonna work out for you. And she actually wrote me a letter as well. And she wrote me a letter, and I sent the letter to my mom. And she was like, look, I'm sorry for implicating you in this here. Everything gonna work out. Well, you had at the bottom, she put, to God be the glory. And I gave the letter to my mom, and she gave it to one of my attorneys. From there, the letter came up missing. And this was an attorney way back, I think like in 97. Her name was Lane Tripp.
Now, Rogers, now, just from what we know about the case and just from what we found out about the case, do you think that the police knew that you had nothing to do with this from the very start?
Excuse me, one more time?
Just from what we know and what we found out, like all the holes that's in your case, all the discrepancies that's leading to you not even being involved, do you think that the police knew from the very beginning that you had nothing to do with this? Do you think that they knew?
I'm certain of that. I'm certain that they knew I had nothing to do with it from the very beginning, especially once I was in homicide, because in homicide is where they tested my hands. And from there, when they tested my hands, they kept saying, you're not the shooter, give us the shooter. Like, look, I don't know what y'all talking about. It's like, you're not the shooter, give us the shooter. Then they took my tennis shoes off, and they had this, like, it was like almost a regular ink pen, but without the ink. And then they ran it through the you know, the crevices of the shoes, and they put it on a white piece of paper. And he was like, they had too much blood in the restaurant, it's not the shoes you wore tonight. And I'm like, sir, that's the shoes I wore tonight. From there, he slapped me in the face with the tennis shoe. He threw the other tennis shoe and busted me in my face with the tennis shoe. So, you know, like as I said, I didn't have a chance at homicide.
Wow. Now, since this has happened, what did you later find out about the gun that was used in the in this homicide?
I found out that Antoinette had reported the gun stolen from the college that she attended. Well, her brother actually got found with the gun in 1998. And the gun, this is like real deep, the gun that was found was actually a gun that was signed out by Frank Marullo, who was my presiding judge at the time of the trial. So Antoinette and my judge actually knew each other in some fashion or form, but he never revealed that before I went to trial.
So this judge that presided over your trial, the gun that was used in this murder was his?
No, it was actually a gun that he signed out to Antoinette Frank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his John Hancock is actually on the order that signed out that particular gun to Antoinette Frank.
So you're right, they were connected in some shape or form. So he never should have been presiding over that case.
Never. At all.
Wow. So not only that, Rogers, but it was something else I was intending to ask you about that. We know that your jurors. Tell my audience about that.
Excuse me?
Your jurors.
My jewelry?
Uh-huh.
That was stolen from the house?
Not jury.
No, not jewelry. The jurors.
Oh, the
that
jurors.
was in your case.
Okay, the jurors. Yes. The jurors actually, which I didn't know until 2013. But two of the jurors that actually was picked to be jury members, one of them was a dispatcher that actually worked the night that the call came through. So, in essence, she was actually a witness in the case that was actually a juror, which should have never happened. Another one was he was a police officer for like 2 decades, and he served on the jury as well. After he was asked, was he a police, or did he know anybody in his family that was police, that he was related to? He said no, he actually lied. And in 2015, I got a reversal on that from an ad hoc judge named Michael Kirby, because it was a blatant lie, and at that time, police was barred from even serving as jurors.
So there was a dispatcher and there was a police officer. In any other state, anywhere else, that would have been means for your conviction to be overturned. Because do you think these people were planted in your jury? Do you think that these people were planted to convict you?
Yes, ma'am. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Not only that, and I know that every juror that's a seated juror, actually, the DA knows specifics about them. So, there's no question in my mind that the DA at that time, he knew that she was a police, and he knew that she served as a dispatcher. So this is just part of what they do in Louisiana. This is like, nobody really is ever held accountable, so they continue to do what they do.
Why do you think that they wanted to convict you?
Without a doubt, here's the thing. Anytime you have a high-profile case, they're going to close it. And it don't matter. Any black man will do. They have shown that time and time again. And I went to trial. Keep in mind, I was framed in 1995. I was indicted in 1995. I was tried and convicted in 1995. I was on death row in less than 6 months from being framed. My trial took 1 week. My jury, to pick my jury in a capital case, took 1 day. I mean, that shows they had something to hide. 1 day to pick a jury for a capital case. 1 week for a whole trial in a capital case.
Well,
3 months.
So it seems
3 months.
So it seems like what they were kind of trying to do. Now, the young man that was murdered, we know that that's the victim, and we give condolences to the family and all of that, because we're never, it's always a sad thing when someone is killed. It's always a sad thing. But the young man that was killed in the case, he was an NOPD officer. You never even knew him. You never even met him, right? You didn't have any problems with him.
Never met him in my life. Never met him. And also, I want this for the record, I have never been convicted of anything before landing on that road.
Now, the young man that was killed, because I did read that the victim said because there were people that there were, I can't remember how many people was in the restaurant, but I do know that a couple of them survived. They said that I read that Antoinette Franks walked outside of the restaurant, and when she walked out, they saw her walk to her car, and an NOPD police car pulled up to her and then pulled off. They said that they tried to say that it was a robbery, but of course none of the money was taken. Do you have any idea of why that crime took place? Do you have any idea?
No, ma'am. I definitely can't speak on that. But what I can say is that it's been definitely proven that the circumstances of what they're saying happened, a lot of it really... This call is subject to recording and monitoring. This is a call from Center A, Louisiana Department of Corrections Facility. If you look into it, it actually says that other police have to be involved. You know, since that happened, and the brother being found with the contended murder weapon, not only that, since he's been incarcerated, a guy named Darryl Pond actually came to my hearing in 2013 and stated that he actually told him that he killed the police in a restaurant. And so that's on record.
So Antoinette Frank's brother has admitted to killing the police officer that was in the restaurant.
Yes.
And do you feel like that it was Antoinette actually implicated you because she was trying to save her brother?
No question. No question. That's definitely now it's very clear to me. It's very clear that that was the whole plan. You know.
Why do you think that NOPD? Why do you think that NOPD went along with that? Why do you think they would go along with that instead of getting the actual murderer? Why would they go along with Antoinette with that?
I think that Adam definitely have a lot of dirt on the NOPD, and you know, and that's one of the things now that's still being investigated.
Because we all know that NOPD has been in trouble for a lot of their corruption. Around that time, they were just flat out murdering people. You know, they actually had to, Department of Justice had to move in, and a lot of other things. The police department was investigated, and I guess they missed the judge's chambers. I don't know. I guess they missed that. But now this particular judge, he actually signed the murder weapon out that Antoinette Franks used in this murder. There was nothing connecting you to it. Now, later you were taken off of death row. Do you want to talk about that?
I definitely want to talk about that. Was it, I think this early part of this year, well, the DA had, in his petition, stated that he was no longer seeking the death penalty, and he only wanted to focus on the conviction. And the thing about that is that at no time, and I have definitely expressed to my attorneys, at no time do I feel like that's anywhere just. And I actually wrote the DA a letter, you know, expressing how I felt about the situation, because you have framed me and sentenced me to die for something I didn't do, that I had nothing to do with. And now, 21 years later, you say, hey, well, we're going to take the death penalty off. You know, like that's supposed to alleviate anything. My thing is, the DA office definitely knows after the hearing that I didn't have anything to do with this. So he's all right with having me serve a life sentence for something I didn't do, but he just can't sleep at night for killing me for something I didn't do.
Now, the two victims, was it 2 or 3 victims that actually survived in the restaurant? Was it 2 people that actually, well, you don't know, you weren't there.
Actually, after the investigation, we found out there was 3 survivors, and 1 never came to trial. We actually, investigators tracked her down in California. We had the opportunity to put her on the stand in 2013, where you can actually pull this up, this is public record, where she stated that at no time her other people could actually see what was going on from the position they was in inside the restaurant.
Wow, so they could never even identify you, am I right?
You're certainly right.
Wow. So after all this time, you see all these shows that's done on your case. Why do you think that you've never been interviewed?
Number one, I never had the caliber attorneys that and was extremely diligent on media. So And another thing is that Louisiana is so corrupted. You know, I have a great attorney on my case right now, but she's not like really the forerunner. Like she has to answer to somebody.
You have
like,
1 minute left.
The thing is like it's very unfortunate for me that I really don't have a platform and my voice really can't be heard. But the fact of the matter, a lot of people ask a lot of questions. Here's the thing: look at the evidence. The evidence supports what I'm saying. There was no fingerprints of mine, no footprints of mine. All of my clothes are negative, and I have alibi witnesses to where I was at the time of the murder. I mean,
and Antoinette's brother was found with the gun.
And the brother was found with the gun in 1998, and he's now serving time for another armed robbery, unrelated. So that's his MO. He has 60 years for another armed robbery that was unrelated to that crime.
Do you think that Antoinette, I know you said that she wrote you a letter and you gave it to an attorney, and you sent it to your mom and it was given to an attorney and then it went missing.
Thank you for using Securus. Goodbye.
Okay, we'll continue this conversation. Did I ask him everything?
Just about.
Yeah, you covered quite a bit of it.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, he got straight to the meat of it. He basically pretty much told everything. I was just gonna ask him how it's been for him since. Okay, you guys. That was the first interview that I did with him about maybe 5 years ago. His family came to Memphis to my studio, and I had the opportunity. That was actually the first interview that he has ever did. Okay. And so there have been a lot of because the first time I saw this case, it was on A&E, and I was actually convinced, just based on looking at they trying to spam the chat again. I was actually convinced, just based on what I saw on A&E, that he was guilty. And so then when I covered the case, I don't know if y'all can remember C Murder and McKinley Phelps. Those were rappers that was on No Limit. Their family came to Memphis, right? And I covered their cases. And it was via Mac's mom. She's a painter. Mac's mama is a painter. And I remember her saying, she paints for justice. And I remember saying, when she said that she had painted Roger's Lacaze, I was like, that was a national case. I've seen stories of that case on every like on A&E, on Lifetime. Like they was just covering his case like it was everywhere on every crime channel, and they put a slant to it. And she was like, I think you really should look into that, Tamara, because what they put on what you see on the national medias is not really what happened. She says, I know his mother, and I can get you in contact with his mom. And his mother ended up calling me, and we just hit it off. They came to Memphis, and I actually got the first interview that he's ever did since he's been in jail. And he had the opportunity to tell his side of the story. And then I started looking into all of that stuff, you guys. And, just based on the fact that they put police officers on the jury from New Orleans Police Department, that's corruption. That's unheard of. That's actually unheard of. I've never heard of anything like that. I haven't. That's actually illegal. Okay. So that's one of the reasons, you guys, why I have, been dedicated to keeping his story out there, because Now, just like in C. Murder's case, those people were coerced into saying that C. Murder was the shooter. And you see those same people years later talking about how NOPD had threatened them, that they had to say that it was C. Murder when they knew it wasn't him. And now, years later, the same thing in Roger's case. You have people coming forward saying that they lied, and two men came forward to say that Adam Franks bragged about actually being the one to kill the police officer. And they dismissed all of that. You heard what that news anchor said. The judge dismissed everything as it relates to nothing put him at the crime scene. She said a judge actually dismissed that. If that's not an injustice. Hey, Dennis Martin. So these are the injustices that we're dealing with, and these are the types of things that I want to consistently talk about and bring up, right? This is one of the reasons why I came back to YouTube. That's why I came back to YouTube, because even though I have a TV show, my show only comes on in several states. With YouTube, everybody can see it. And I want us all to be able, that's why I say, when I always talk about us doing things together, that's us being able to share awareness of injustices, as well as when I start talking about missing persons and cold cases and things of that nature. Be quiet, Remy. Okay. And the sad thing about it is, C. Murder is still in jail fighting for his freedom. Mac, they made him do 21 years for a crime that they knew he did not commit. 21 years. Okay. And I kind of want to show just a snippet of that, you guys. Just a little snippet.
Or RT several times.
Hold on one second. Hold on. I'm getting something for you guys. I mean, this is a pattern of the New Orleans Police Department. Which is why the DOJ had to come in, the Department of Justice and the FBI. Okay. Let's see. Hey, Miss T. How are you? Just come. Hello, Miss Tracy. They use C. Murder name to, right. And that's an injustice. They use C. Murder's name to help convict him. Be quiet, Rims. Hold on, you guys.
on the dance floor in a club. There should have been 25 to 30 witnesses, if that makes sense. Or even more. Yeah, I was right there.
Maybe the whole 200 people, you know?
Right.
If y'all remember him, he was on Master P's label, Mac. He was one of the stars on his label just in the midst of blowing up. They framed him for a murder in New Orleans that they know he didn't commit and made him do 21 years. He just got out last year.
Right.
I was actually able to get an interview with him in jail about 5 years ago.
But what happened is I think somewhere in the investigation it got fuzzy. Like, and I think that the detectives got a little too eager. And I don't believe that I was targeted because I was simply African American. I think it was a lot of factors involved. I think that initially they believed that they were pursuing a good lead, I think initially. Because, of course, this happened in a club, which was an event thrown by me. My posters were on the wall.
From Center A, Louisiana Department of Corrections Facility.
And I'm pretty sure people said, well, that was Magnum, you know, whatever. Because I ran out of the club with a gun. And the fight didn't involve people who were with me. However, I believe that the investigation became lazy from that moment on. I think it was just like, okay, well, we don't even want to, you know, once they started asking questions and I think things got fuzzy, I think what happened was they were eager to appear as the people on the job in their parish. And in doing so, they had to produce a suspect to I guess, satisfy the public outcry. And this is all my opinion, just from being on the inside, seeing what took place. And I think from that moment on, it was more of like, well, whatever is going on is going to stick to this suspect since we got him in custody. And they made sure I didn't get a bond. They did whatever they needed necessary to deny me a bail, so I don't, you know, be able to properly fight my charge from the streets. And I think their minds were pretty much made up when they got me the back of the police car. I think their minds were made up. They slapped each other on the back like they had to caught, you know, to catch them today. And some people may have been promoted because of this situation. And I can't go into their mind, but as far as
you heard him say officers was promoted after his conviction, after framing him.
Jurors are concerned. You know, I just kind of believe that if you have an African American from New Orleans, a place where a lot of people from the rural areas in Louisiana, you know, they think of us in not the most friendliest way. On top of that, I just so happen to be a quote-unquote gangster rapper by the media's definition, who does music that many of whites from rural areas consider filth. You know what I mean?
Or don't understand.
And on top of that, you know, I just so happen to be African American as well. African American from the city who does gangster rap music. And I think that some of our white brothers and sisters from rural areas, I think some of them consider us thoughtless and aggressive. And if you add that into the equation, you know, I think the trial was over before the deliberation began. Because
before you, because hold on, y'all. Like you said, you now. Do you feel like, because I've like looked at, I think it's how hung up. He's still a rapper, am I right? What? He was incarcerated unjustly, and they want to speak about what has happened since then, with witnesses coming forward. Now listen to what the judge says. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for having us. So how have you all been?
Now they've been acclimated to some.
Lend a hand to help us try to resolve this issue, to bring the truth forward.
You know, I had the opportunity to speak with your son. He was so positive. He was so positive. He was just like light living inside of him. He feels like, you know, he's been put in prison unjustly, yet something good is going to end up coming out of it, you know, especially since there's so many young men that have been unjustly convicted. Yes, yes.
16 years ago, they didn't have everybody running around with a cell phone with video capacity, so the general public would not buy these stories of people getting framed, something else going on other than the official version. Now they've been acclimated.
He's an artist. Assassinate.
This colored aren't supposed to do that. You got the all-white jury, which is a travesty for that part of Louisiana. So it's just a mess from point one. And I understand some things have happened to the prosecutor involved since that time. Isn't he kind of getting the stripes untanned from looking between the bars?
Yes, he is.
Yes, he's been
convicted of 18 or 19 charges.
See,
money laundering.
but see, yeah, that goes on. See, the press doesn't like to deal with it. Like the OJ case, I mentioned that to you earlier. Cochran inferred.
Okay, y'all know how Judge Joe Brown is, child. He'll go on a whole educational rant. But I actually called Judge Joe Brown. He actually lives in Memphis. And when I got ready to do the interview with Mac's family, I asked him if he would just look over some of the notes of the case, and if he would come over to my studio and go on air and give a synopsis of what he came up with. And what he actually came over there and said was that because another young man actually came forward to the NOPD and said McKinley Phelps, which was Mac, did not do this. I did it. It was actually Mac's security. He said, Mac didn't do this. I did it because the guy was coming at me with a bottle. So I ended up shooting him. Judge Joe Brown looked at all of that. He said that the witness was credible. They actually locked the witness up and told the witness that came forward, which was Mac's security guard, if he said anything else, that they would lock him up for life, right? They would start getting him on other stuff. So, you know, they kind of went back and forth with that because they wanted to blame the security, but he did what he was supposed to do. We actually found the video of the boy saying that he did it. But because they wanted to extort Master P, and Mac was one of his top rappers and rising, they just wanted to convict Mac. You know, even though somebody else came forward and said that McKinley didn't do this, I did it. So that's the type of corruption, you know, that you're dealing with in New Orleans, as a matter of fact. And as a matter of fact, I actually ended up finding like a tape. It actually got this Leslie
Hopefully
Ballard.
there are other avenues which you can gain his release, but
I actually got attorney Leslie Ballard to come over there. Leslie Ballard is one of the top attorneys. He's one of the most sought after attorneys in Memphis. I mean, anywhere. people try and always get Leslie Ballin. He's a very high-priced attorney, very high-priced. He helped to get Mary Winkler off. He got the West Memphis 3 off. Like he's just one of those high-priced ones that and he actually, I was really surprised that he came over to my studio that day, and he came over and spoke about the laws in Louisiana. But here is the young man that actually did the shooting in McKinley Phelps' case, and he actually went in there and confessed.
That's being given by Mr. Thomas Robert Williams.
How bad it was firing McKinley on that's his blood on that's his daddy brother. I mean, he was open the back door. That night at the club, we was at the back door. We both at the back door. Next thing, I looked to the left. We got people flying all over, people fighting. This is a madhouse. When I went over there, I was looking for him, but when I didn't see him, he was not in the vicinity where the fight was going down. So I was still trying to stop because the other guy that was security with us, he was getting to the front. I was trying to stop them from fighting because the guys that was, I don't know what the other guys come, they were fighting against the crew that was with us. So I'm trying to stop the big commotion. It's people flying everywhere. I'm standing out holding my hand this way, trying to stop people this way. I'm trying to stop people. I look up. They got a guy charging me with a broken wheel.
Y'all, they trying to spam the chat again.
In my vicinity, 6 to 8 feet, then I panicked. I was sitting there standing there trembling for my life. I didn't know if my life was in jeopardy.
And what happened after that?
I seen him coming toward me. Like I said, I was trembling. I didn't know what to do. You know, and I mean, I bad reaction. I panicked.
There was more. Okay, so y'all saw what he said. Yeah, it took so long. We was doing that interview and like actually showing that you didn't commit the crime. Did you feel like that you were gonna? We did that interview because I was finding information. When y'all saw me again, I had taken the tracks out and cut my hair off and everything. But that's the type of stuff that go on down there in New Orleans, Louisiana. So it's not hard for me to believe that they set Rogers up. They've been setting people up. Wow. Tanya says, in Louisiana, period, I got charged with second-degree murder last year, and nobody was shot, so it was amended to attempted murder. Someone else admitted to the shooting, but got charged with obstruction. Wow. Yeah, I had it took, like, when I did those interviews, I started doing so much research on them. By the time, I ended up, right, he was released last year in 2021. They made him do 21 years for a crime that they know he never committed. That young man right there, that young man, which was his security guard, admitted to doing. And if you look at that whole interview, Max said when they came to his house and got him to question him, he said one of the officers said, Master P. And he said no, I'm not Master P. Or the officer told the other officer, no, he's not Master P. He's on No Limits label. He said, and the other officer said, close enough. Let's get him. Okay. So this is something that they've been doing. They have been trying to extort Master P. And because they couldn't extort him, they started really taking down all of his artists. And it's sad. It's a sad thing. People get mad because, Master P, when he said, I told my artists to get out of Louisiana. But it's a shame. Nobody should have to uproot and leave their home just because of a corrupt system. just because of a corrupt system. Right? They wanted to get Master P's money. That's what they wanted. It was actually him that they was after. Okay. I don't know. I think we could write to the governor. We should be able to write to the governor. We should start posting stuff. If we could start, I think to bring more awareness and start writing to the governor. And if you're in the state of Louisiana, start, you know, encouraging people there to vote in politicians that's going to agree to change, help to change, get those laws changed. You know? Right. Start a petition. Y'all, this is sad. It really is. It is really, it's sad. And so, y'all, like I said, this is the type of stuff, and y'all have to understand, like, this is the type of stuff that I fight to keep out. And I was just sitting here thinking about you guys. Like, even though, well, I'm not gonna talk about that. I can't talk about it right now because I got some stuff going on too. Let's see. Thanks for tuning in, Real Talk. Yes, you guys. But this is something that I want to keep out there. I definitely do. I want to keep out there. Yeah, bringing awareness is a start. It is. It is. It's to bring awareness. It's a whole lot of innocent people locked up. Yes, it is. There are a lot of innocent people locked up. So, you guys, as long as I'm on here, I'm going to keep his case alive, of course. Because I do believe that um he should not be locked up. Hold on, y'all. Okay. The South is still the same. Yes, it is. It's still the same. So, y'all, these are the types of stories that we're going to cover. You know, even as with this Dolph case, we're going to always talk about Young Dolph. Young Dolph stuff is coming to a head, you know. We're going to start to see more people arrested in Young Dolph's case. Probably, let's see, elections are today, really, well, August the 4th, right? Elections is August the 4th. After the election is over, probably in the next few weeks, we're going to start seeing a whole lot of stuff in the Young Dolph's case. We're going to start seeing a whole lot of stuff. And then, but still, there are other people that, you know, we need to bring awareness to. Right, we're going through the same thing today. It's worse because more of us are in office, and right, it's worse because a lot of us are in office, and when they put a black person in office, when a black person is placed into office to do the dirty work, it's even worse because you can't even say that they being racist. You can't say that because they black. They do more damage. A black bought out cuckabug head Negro can do way more damage than any white person could. A bought out Negro, a two for a penny Negro can do way more damage. Hold on, y'all. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, two for a penny Negro can do way more damage when they bought out and they got these people in their ear doing all kinds of stuff, and they do anything for some damn money, or they want to keep their status, and they real charming. And that's why I know a lot of people forget. The Bible says charm is deceitful. I become real scared of charming people because a lot of times they are deceitful. Okay, I'm back. I'm telling you, Cadillac, I take a racist white person than a bought out Negro any day, because a bought out Negro can do things that a racist white person might not be able to get away with. They can really wreak havoc. And they'll say, well, you can't say that he's racist. He's black. But he's doing the dirty work of the racist people. And you would think that a lot of black people would have more, um, you know, they would be too proud to do something like that. I wouldn't say integrity because a lot of them ain't got no damn integrity anyways. Or more pride or something. They wouldn't be sent out like that. But they do it every time. And they do it with a grin. We can put our community, we can, but our community has to hold them accountable. That's what's that's what's not happening. Nobody is being held accountable. Yep, nobody's being held accountable. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have Rogers' Car's mother on here, and there's an activist in New Orleans named Mr. West. I'm gonna have on here, and he just kind of shoots straight from the hip. And he has agreed to start helping Rogers to get his case out there. And I think it would be good if we could get on board with at least bringing awareness to it, talking about it and stuff. And when Mr. West and them do something, they have press conferences and stuff. I want to put that on here. It's a shame to be in jail for 28 years for a crime they know you didn't commit. I wish it was some kind of way that I could get an interview with Antoinette. But there was a man who actually ended up interviewing her. The first interview that she ever gave, he said, and she is rotten to the core. He said she still think that she is as cunning as she always was. And he said, you talking about mentally ill, she's rotten to the core. To this very day. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Y'all, so and that's why y'all, I think it's sad, even in the state that we are in now, I think I cannot talk about it enough. But you know what? Anyways. But anyways, you guys, we're gonna continue talking about this. I'm gonna go on and get off for tonight because I gotta get up in the morning. But I do thank you guys for tuning in. I really do. I thank you guys for tuning in. This is the type of stuff that we will continuously talk about. When I can, I'm going to get Rogers back on here and get his family and stuff on here, you guys. But I have enjoyed being here with you guys tonight, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.